Hi guys, and welcome back to part 2 of our Italian meal. We are now gonna make up a meatballs. All right. Okay, great. So yesterday I went live and showed you how I make my marinara sauce. It's very basic. You can add anything you want to it that's gonna spice it up or make it more exciting or more towards the region of Italy that maybe you prefer. Who knows? I'm not Italian, I'm Lebanese, so this is just me showing you what I like. I just prefer, if I can, to make a big pot of spaghetti sauce because I can freeze it, it thaws really easily, it heats up really easily, and I just can't bring myself to pay $9 for a jar of sauce that doesn't have sugar in it, just because I'm looking for a jar that doesn't have sugar in it, or additives or preservatives. So that was my way of making a really easy sauce. So now we're gonna make a pretty easy meatball, and I'll show you kind of some of my shortcuts for making a pretty delicious meatball. I'm actually thinking I'm gonna need a little bit of a bigger bowl, just so I have room to move everything around. So I start with ground chuck. This is a pound of ground chuck. And a pound, I'm using all natural turkey sausage, a pound of turkey sausage. If you don't care for turkey sausage, then use pork sausage or any other sausage that you like. I don't mind the taste of turkey sausage, and I prefer when I'm using, for some reason, when I put pork and beef together, it's just too much for me. It's too rich for me, so I prefer the turkey. Most people would say, bring me the pork. I prefer the pork, and that's totally fine. That would work just as well, if not better, in this situation. Now, we all know what we add for the most part to meatballs. We add breadcrumbs. Well, what if you don't have breadcrumbs? Like me, I don't have any breadcrumbs. So here's what I do. I get out my little mini mixer, and I toast really, really thoroughly 2 pieces of toast. This is just Dave's Killer Bread. The stuff that I use in the morning for peanut butter toast for the kids. I just break it into pieces and put it in here. I'm saving all those preservatives. I'm saving all that sodium by just using plain old regular bread. Now, some people prefer not to eat grains, or they prefer not to eat gluten. In just a little bit. Okay. If you don't eat gluten and you prefer a breadcrumb without gluten, you can use old-fashioned oatmeal. Now you do have to be careful. I'm just going to add some in for giggles. You do have to be careful because there are some oatmeals that will say processed in the same factory with wheat products, meaning there could be cross-contamination and gluten in your food. But if you prefer, if you just prefer to be grain-free, but if you if you prefer to be gluten-free, but if you get a little in there, it's not the end of the world. Oats are a great alternative. And of course, if you're steering clear of both of those things, you can use almond flour, which costs $1,200 a bag. Awesome. You've got all that mixed up together. So I'm just going to dump it in with the meat. And the great thing about using toast is it does retain just the slightest bit of moisture, even if you toast it really, really well. And I like that. I like that it holds just a touch of moisture for me, because otherwise sometimes breadcrumbs just make everything kind of have that styrofoamy taste almost to me. So they retain just a touch of moisture, which I really like. Up next, I'm gonna add in some diced onion, some diced red onion to be exact. I'm not a huge fan of onion, but I always add, this is like maybe 1/4 of an onion. I always add a little bit because the more stuff you've got in your meatballs, the more space there is for things to cook. So it's not just a tightly packed meatball, because when it's really tightly packed, it tends to lose a lot of moisture. But if there's kind of some space for everybody to move around and for the onions to release some of their juice, your meatball will tend to stay a little bit juicier. I almost said the M word. You can also use carrots in exchange for onions if you really don't dislike onions. Sometimes I do that, but it does give your meatballs a really earthy flavor, if you will. And if you prefer your meatballs to taste like meat, then I would suggest using onion. Great. Up next, we are gonna add the Parmesan. Oh, I thought this was open. It's not. This is Parmesan and Romano. I don't use fresh Parmesan for this because I don't see the point. This works just as well at flavoring it, and I'm not looking in this case for something that's going to be melty or have a really fresh flavor because everybody's cooking together. So this is fine with me. So I'm going to add just about a cup, maybe a little less than a cup, about 3/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. And then if I didn't lose it, I'm going to add 1 egg. That helps bind everybody together. Throw that in my garbage bowl. And then I'm gonna season. If you have people in your family that like spicy, I would add some red pepper to these. I will probably add red pepper to my finished meal instead of to my meatballs because my little ones don't always love the red pepper. So I'm adding regular pepper. The Parmesan is pretty salty, as will the sausage be. So I'm not too interested in adding any more salt. I am, however, going to add garlic powder. Is this garlic powder? Yeah. I don't like adding minced garlic to my meatballs. It's a texture thing. If you don't mind it, then just add minced garlic. This is oregano. That's our Italian seasoning. That's what makes things taste Italian. I don't add parsley to my meatballs because, again, I don't like my meatballs to taste earthy, but I do add basil because I like the little bit of sweetness that it gives. Okay, and now there's no other way to do it, folks. You just have to dig in and start squeezing everything together. Get all of the sausage hanging out with the chuck, the ground chuck. You'll break your egg open and it will combine with everything. Get your oats and or your breadcrumbs or your toast or whatever you're using. You kind of have to keep flipping it around to get all the oats off the bottom. They'll tend to want to hang out in the bowl. And this isn't something you want to like overmix. You just want to get it all blended together as best you can. I just realized that I forgot to spray the pan. So I'm about to get the spray contaminated. That's fine. So now what I do, it already smells good. It's not even cooked, is I kind of make it into a little pie inside of my pan, my bowl, like this. And then I score it into quarters, just using my finger and just being approximate with it. And that way, I kind of get the same amount of the meat mixture into each meatball. I'm not eyeballing an entire bowl. I'm just eyeballing the quarters. So I might make each of these into 3, and that'll be pretty easy to eyeball, as opposed to trying to look at the whole thing and figure out how I'm gonna get 12 equal pieces of meatball. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my hands off, unfortunately, because I forgot to get the spray. Hold on, everybody. All right, thoroughly washed. So now Here is kind of my secret trick. And not everyone will like it, and you definitely don't have to use it.
Nobody would like it because...
What?
And nobody would like it because... And nobody might not like it because...
Why would they not like it? I don't know what you were going to say.
Maybe because... They wouldn't like it because...
I don't think he had an answer. I think he just ran in to say that. That's fine. When you think of something, you let me know. So I'm going to take each quarter of meat mixture and break it into 3 pretty equal parts.
Oh, shimmy, shimmy.
And I'm going to
Can I try?
Ball it up. I don't think so. And then I am going to put it into a muffin
Why can't I do that, Mom?
tin, because I don't want you to stick your hands in the meat. And the reason I do that is because I don't know if you've ever made meatballs before, but what happens when you put your meatballs on the baking sheet and you put them in your oven to bake? All the cheese does what? Melts out all over the place, lose all the juices. This way, it kind of sits. I'm taking the next chunk. It kind of sits in its own juices and its own cheese, and some of that will reabsorb, and some of it won't, but that's okay. At least you didn't just lose it all and it's not running all over everything. Even if you pan sear your meatballs first, which you're welcome to do, it's an added step that I don't have the time to take, but if you have the time to sear them, I highly suggest it. But even if you do, you're still gonna lose quite a bit of the moisture from your meatball by just letting it sit on a baking sheet. Thank you for adding that back on there. Okay, 6 more of these. Taking the next chunk. And that was about 2 pounds of meat total. So 2 pounds of meat for me makes 12 pretty decent sized meatballs. Like fists, a little smaller than fists.
Hey guys, guess how old this guy is?
How old?
You guys tell us.
Well, they're not there. We're doing a video.
Oh.
Yeah. So you got to tell them. How old are you?
7.
What?
Whichever
7?
Whichever way it goes, it's...
I disagree. He is not 7.
Come on, Mom.
He is 3.
No!
I like 3 better.
I like 7 better.
I don't know about you guys, but 7 has made me very uncomfortable. 7 feels way too close to 10. And I don't like that at all. I don't know what he's doing. All right. So I am down to my last 2. And don't get your face that close, please. That's raw meat.
Oh.
And I'm not, when I make these into balls, I'm not like smashing them together. I'm just kind of forming them in my hands.
Like, you're not doing this.
And then
like,
rolling them into a ball kind of gently between my 2 hands. They're by no means perfect spheres.
And you know
They're
what?
just the size that will fit into these little muffin containers. And then all I'm going to do, y'all, just a second, is I'm going to put these in the oven at 425 degrees for about 20 minutes, maybe 25, which is actually ironically exactly how much time is left on the Instant Pot for the sauce that we started last night, even though I'm wearing the same clothes. Boy, that would mean I really haven't showered in a while. So I'm going to go ahead and put these, watch out, Bubba, this is hot, into the oven in their own little muffin tins. I will make some noodles for us. I will make a salad for us. And in 26 minutes, we will all be ready for an Italian meal. We will be Italian tonight together. So I will see you tomorrow night.
And one tip about the stuff, like Mom, the meatballs.
Yes.
Like Mom said, don't like smash them around, kind of like this. Just kind of like make them in like a ball shape.
Yeah, if they smash them too much, it'll be like a hamburger.
Yeah, and it would be
Nobody wants Italian
flat.
hamburgers.
Nobody wants flat meatballs.
Right, exactly.
So that's why I was just telling
It's your suggestion. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.